Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're embarking on, well, one of the most ambitious intellectual adventures we've ever really attempted.
Hmm.
We're mapping the core mechanics of spiritual fulfillment across, vastly different cultures.
Yeah.
We're digging into sources that cover Hinduism, Buddhism, and Aboriginal spirituality, all to look for that universal human impulse, that search for meaning.
It's a huge undertaking. Think of it like comparative theology, but we're really focused on the blueprint.
The how.
The how, exactly.
Yeah.
Our mission is to understand the actual operating systems these traditions use. We'll be comparing systems where the goal is to escape a cycle of suffering versus others where the goal is to maintain a connection.
Maintain a balance within the world we're in right now.
Precisely.
And this journey, it takes us across millennia, right? And for you listening, this is a vital shortcut. It gives you the tools to engage with all this global knowledge critically and really to understand the religious pluralism that defines so much of the modern world.
And that starts with learning to distinguish fact from, inherited bias in these ancient traditions.
Okay, so where do we start?
Let's start with Hinduism.
Yeah.
The sources point out it's incredibly distinctive. It doesn't trace back to a single founder.
Right.
It sort of grew out of the Indus Valley civilization and the Aryan settlers. It's more like a living, breathing thing, known for its tolerance and its ability to just absorb diverse practices over time.
So let's unpack the core reality. The sources talk about Brahman. If you had to define that simply, what is it?
Brahman is. Think of it as the ultimate context, the universal spirit. It's like a divine ocean. It's formless, indescribable everywhere. It is the reality of the universe.
Okay.
But here's the profound part. If Brahman is the ultimate reality, it's not just out there.
So we have a piece of that inside us. That's the Atman.
That's the Atman, the eternal, immortal human soul. It's essentially one drop of that boundless ocean.
And the goal then is to get the drop back to the ocean.
That is the whole point. The ultimate goal for every Hindu is moksha, which means liberation. It's the dissolution of that boundary between your Atman and Brahman.
The reuniting.
And the philosophical thunderbolt that captures this, the Sanskrit phrase taptvamasi.
You are that.
You are that. It's the realization that your deepest self is identical to the universal reality. And that insight is what breaks the ego's hold. But, and this is a big but, it's incredibly hard to achieve.
Why?
Because we are trapped in the cycle of existence.
This is samsara.
Correct. Samsara is that endless cycle of death and rebirth, reincarnation.
And what powers it? What keeps the wheel turning?
The engine that drives it is karma. The totality of your actions, your thoughts, your deeds, every choice you make, good or bad, determines your status in the next life.
And the world we live in now, this physical world, is called Maya.
Maya, or illusion. It's temporary, imperfect, and constantly changing.
So the whole spiritual focus is just on breaking free from this imperfect world. How do they actually do that? Given how diverse Hinduism is.
Well, that tolerance allows for multiple paths, or yogas. You can seek salvation through intense devotion. That's bhakti yoga.
So a path based on loving and worshiping a personal deity.
Yeah, relying on good deeds, good thoughts.
Like devotion to Vishnu or Shiva, it makes the divine feel more relatable.
Exactly. Or you can take the much more demanding path of knowledge, Jnana yoga.
And that's the intellectual route.
It is. It requires a guru, strict guidance, and deep study of texts like the Upanishads.
There's a great little nugget in the sources about the deities. We often hear about the Hindu Trinity, Brahma the creator, Vishnu the preserver, Shiva the destroyer.
And restorer.
And restorer, and they're complemented by this feminine energy, Shakti.
Right, in forms like Parvati, Durga, or the fierce goddess Kali.
What's fascinating is how these systems sometimes, acknowledge each other.
You mean Vishnu's avatars?
Yes. The sources note that some Hindus actually believe that Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha himself, was one of Vishnu's incarnations.
It just speaks volumes about the capacity for assimilation within the faith.
And that makes the transition to Buddhism so seamless, even though philosophically things are about to change dramatically.
Completely.
So Siddhartha Gautama, born around 563 BCE, Buddhism shares karma and samsara, but the goal shifts from moksha to nirvana.
And this is the most important distinction. If Hinduism's goal is to realize your eternal self, your Atman, and unite it with Brahman, Buddhism comes along and challenges that whole premise.
You're talking about the concept of no self.
Exactly. The Buddha taught anicca impermanence and anatta, or no self. There is no permanent eternal soul to liberate.
Wait, so the self we feel is not real?
It's just a constantly changing collection of elements. So nirvana isn't uniting a soul with God. It's extinguishing the causes of suffering.
By getting rid of craving and ignorance.
Yes, liberation comes from realizing the true, impermanent nature of reality.
That is a massive philosophical insight. If you realize there is no permanent self to defend, then you stop clinging.
You get it. And that realization is channeled through the Four Noble Truths,
The blueprint for life.
derived directly from the Buddha's enlightenment. First, life involves suffering, or dukkha. Second, suffering comes from our craving.
Our attachments.
Third, suffering stops when craving stops. And fourth, the practical way to do that is to follow the Noble Eightfold Path.
And the Eightfold Path is incredibly practical. It's about ethical living. I mean, it gets very specific.
It does.
Like right livelihood. It tells you to abstain from jobs that cause harm, specifically trading in weapons, meat, poison, or liquor.
It's all designed to foster right understanding. Right mindfulness, for instance, recognizing that everything is constantly changing.
By truly getting impermanence, you stop grasping at things that were going to slip away anyway.
And if we look at how these teachings are applied, the two main schools of Buddhism have pretty different ideals.
A split between self-focus and compassion.
Sort of.
Yeah.
You have Theravada, the way of the elders.
Yeah.
Their ideal is the arhat, the monk, who achieves nirvana purely for themselves.
Okay, so that's the personal escape model. But then you have Mahayana, the great vehicle.
And they embrace the ideal of the bodhisattva.
And a bodhisattva is what exactly?
A bodhisattva is someone who reaches full enlightenment, but then compassionately delays their own final nirvana. They choose to stay in samsara to help all other beings get liberated first.
Wow. So it flips liberation from a personal goal to a universal mission.
Completely.
We can even see these concepts visually. The sources talk about the wheel of life.
Which is a complete symbolic map of samsara, the very cycle we're trying to escape.
And you also have the mudras.
The hand gestures.
Right, the specific hand gestures on Buddha statues. They're not just random poses.
Not at all. They're visual cues. Each one symbolizes a specific state of mind or a moment in the Buddhist teachings. It's like a silent language.
Okay, so now we have to take a major shift in perspective. We move from these huge organized traditions focused on escaping the wheel to a spirituality focused entirely on immediate, deep connection and balance within this world.
Aboriginal spirituality.
Yeah.
The goal is no longer escape. It's harmony.
And that harmony is rooted in animism.
Yes, the core belief that everything, and I mean everything, human, animal, plant, rock, has a spirit, a soul.
There's a beautiful quote in the sources from an elder. The world is a library, and its books are the stones, leaves, and grass.
It requires a relationship of profound respect with the material world. So rather than seeing the physical world as Maya, illusion.
You see it as a vital spiritual system.
Exactly. A system with a supreme creator, but also personified lesser spirits who govern elements, like Sky Woman or Sea Woman.
And this worldview can be physically embodied, like in the Iroquois longhouse religion.
Yes, and the longhouse structure itself reflects this idea of duality, the necessary balance of opposing forces, like light and dark.
Give us a simple example of that.
Well, it's right there in the clan organization, like the Turtle and Wolf clans. And even in how they enter the building. Some members use the west door, others the east, based on their designation.
All guided by the great law of peace.
Which emphasizes righteousness, health, and power as the way to maintain that balance.
And maintaining balance requires rituals, purification, guidance.
The sources highlight two incredibly powerful ones, the Sweat Lodge ceremony and the Vision Quest.
Let's start with the Sweat Lodge.
It's an intense communal cleansing, a physical and spiritual purification in a sauna-like dome. The heat and steam. It's profound.
Led by an elder or a shaman.
Right. It's often seen as a return to the womb, a way to cleanse and refresh your spirit.
And the Vision Quest is more of a rite of passage.
For youth, yes. After purification and fasting, the youth goes alone into the wilderness. They pray, endure the elements, and seek a message from a guardian spirit.
Which might appear as an animal.
An animal or some other natural form.
Huh.
It's an active spiritual journey to get guidance for your life.
The symbols here are so important. The eagle feather, for example.
It's vital. The eagle flies closest to the Creator, so the feather symbolizes that connection between the physical and spiritual. It's a symbol of duality.
And the tree of peace.
Which connects earth and heaven. It's the foundation of their entire ethical and legal framework.
So this whole exploration gives us a framework to look at modern challenges. What happens when these ancient sacred practices run up against the modern state?
Especially somewhere like Canada, where the Charter protects religious freedom, but institutions have their own strict rules.
And a prime example is the smudging ceremony.
Right. The burning of sweet grass or tobacco for purification. It's a profoundly important act.
But the conflict happens when that sacred act meets modern bureaucracy.
Like rules against open flames or smoke.
Fire and health regulations.
Exactly. The sources noted cases where sacred smoke was mistaken for something illicit, leading to bans or even student suspensions. The challenge is, how do you honor a charter right while navigating modern safety laws?
It's a collision of worldviews.
A collision of what defines a sacred space versus an institutional space.
Let's turn to another major contemporary issue, one that really highlights the difficulty in defining modern spiritual movements. Falun Gong. Our sources give us two very distinct, very polarized views of this practice.
And we had to be really clear and neutral here. We're just reporting what the sources lay out.
Absolutely, no taking sides. So what's view number one?
View 1 describes Falun Gong as essentially a meditation practice. It's rooted in traditional Chinese culture, and it promotes health, tolerance, and nonviolence.
Okay. And view two?
View 2 describes it as a reactionary political force, or even a cult, one that uses nonviolent protest and seeks outside interference in China's internal affairs.
So why is the interpretation so polarized? What's the core tension?
The tension seems to be between a decentralized spiritual movement that wants to operate freely and a centralized state that sees any large organized group outside its control as a potential threat.
It just shows how hard it is to draw a line between spirituality, culture, and politics in the modern world.
It really does.
Finally, let's look at a traditional Hindu practice arranged marriage and see how the duty of dharma can collide with modern individualism.
The sources offer a really complex view on this. The tradition emphasizes that marriage is a union of families, not just two people.
And some sources claim this leads to higher success rates than Western marriages.
Right, arguing that basing a lifelong union on fleeting romantic passion is, well, inherently risky.
But the personal cost of sticking to that family dharma can be immense.
It can be.
The source material details the incredible social pressure, the weight of dishonor that can be put on a young person. They cite this heartbreaking anecdote of a young Hindu friend who committed suicide.
Because she loved one man, but couldn't bring herself to refuse the marriage arranged for her family's sake.
That tragedy just illustrates the high stakes of dharma. The duty to family and community is paramount, and when it crashes into individual choice,
The consequences can be devastating. It's a reminder that these ethical systems, right down to the caste system itself, are all fundamentally linked back to karma and the pursuit of order.
So this deep dive has really given us a profound synthesis. On one hand, you have Eastern traditions, Hinduism, Buddhism, with these highly structured systems for escaping the suffering of the physical world.
Striving for moksha, or nirvana.
While Aboriginal spirituality, on the other hand, emphasizes this ethical responsibility and deep integration within the living, animated world.
Guided by animism and the great law of peace. The core intention is different. Escape the wheel versus maintain the connection.
So after all this, what does this vast pluralistic map mean for us today?
Well, it raises a really important question about how much we understand about the heritage we all share. For example, Christmas is a central Christian celebration, right?
Source.
But the sources mention that the Magi, the wise men at Jesus' birth, were possibly Zoroastrian priests.
Interesting.
So when you think about the overlap of spiritual calendars today, where the winter solstice, Hanukkah, and Christmas all coincide, it forces you to consider a final thought. In a world where traditions constantly merge and influence one another, how much do we unknowingly owe to the faiths and philosophies of our next-door neighbors, the ones that came before or alongside our own?
That spiritual interconnectedness is something worth exploring further.
Yeah.